So it's March 12th in 2011, and this will be the day that I win my first memory championship. It's also, coincidentally, the same week that Joshua Foer's Moonwalking with Einstein book comes out, hits the shelves, and becomes a bestseller. Now, I've always attributed his book to kind of amplifying my success that year and subsequent years. So I owe a lot to Josh and his book coming out at that time. Now, fun little fact, I actually found a preprint copy about 3 months before it came out. So I got to read that book in advance before winning my championship. And it definitely hyped me up. It definitely got me pumped up and ready to really try to win my first championship. Now for me, it wasn't the first book that got me into memory techniques, but for a lot of people that come to my channel, a lot of you guys, it was the first entryway to memory techniques and the world of the art of memory. So I've always wanted to interview Josh, and it's hard to get a hold of him, but he finally agreed to do an interview with me, and here it is. I just wanted to share it with you. I hope you enjoy it. Ladies and gentlemen, Joshua Foer. Hey Josh, how you doing?
Nelson, it is good to see you, man.
Good to see you. Yeah, we were just a second ago trying to remember the last time, jogging our memories when we saw each other. What is it for you? What do you remember the last time?
Well, you sent me a copy of your kid's book.
That's true.
Yeah.
But it wasn't a physical interaction.
No, but I felt like I was in the room with you when I was reading it. So yeah. Nice. And by the way, it's a great book. So.
Thank you. I'm glad you read it. The kids one, right?
Yeah.
Nice. Oh, that's awesome. Yeah. Did you happen to give it to your kid? I'm curious.
Not yet, but I should.
Yeah. I think the 9-year-old would be right at the good time. Maybe, I don't know how as good as reading as I would imagine. It's pretty good.
Yeah. You know, it's interesting. I mean, you're a parent. Like, what have you done with your kids with all this memory stuff?
Not so much, because our oldest, who's 3, he's like crazy. He goes all over the place. So to get him to focus on something, it's tough, but we always sit him down to tell him stories about things we've done. And so he's got like this really good memory for things we've done, and like every instance of the time we went there. And just because of like, he's like, tell me the story of this, tell me the story of that. And it's kind of become a tradition. And he's good with numbers. He can count and letters and alphabet. He's pretty good so far.
I'm like constantly amazed at how good the memories of kids are.
Yeah.
And I don't know if it's because they're just like, they don't have that much stuff to actually think about.
Yeah.
But like the ability to like remember the words in books that like, my illiterate almost 5-year-old can I'm reading to her and she can like finish sentences.
Yeah.
But what I was actually asking is like, have you taught your kids any of these memory techniques?
Not really. The only thing I've kind of done, we have like this Elmo suitcase with letters, and behind the letter you take it out and there's like a picture of a thing with that letter, like A is an apple, V is a violin, and he knows those. And I was really excited when we got that toy because it's essentially a peg system,
right?
So eventually, I say like V, like violin, he could just picture the letter and the image that goes to it, and eventually he could associate something to it, but we haven't got to that part yet.
Yeah, so I haven't like really spent a ton of time teaching my eldest, who's almost 9. Oh no, he is 9. I haven't really spent a lot of time teaching him memory techniques. I went in and talked to his like first grade class or kindergarten class, and the kids were just like bouncing off the walls, and like I don't know if they picked up on it or not. But he goes to a school that doesn't have tests, so it's like I think when he's ready to take his first like real test, I'm gonna be like, I'm about to make this way easier for you. Because that's what I always felt. I always felt like that's what I wish I had learned.
Me too.
Memory techniques for. It was like in school,
Yeah.
Because at least when we were kids, and I don't know if this is true now for kids, but like we had to memorize a lot of stuff just to pass tests. And if you're gonna make kids do that, you might as well teach them how to do it.
Yeah.
Like as efficiently as possible.
I know. I say that all the time. Like we're given all these tasks from the start, and it's memorization, like learn the alphabet, learn your times tables, learn the presidents, whatever. And then it's like, no one ever gives you a primer on the thing up here, It should be like woodshop 101, but like, from memory,
Well, there should also be more woodshop 101 in schools, if you ask me.
Agreed. All those kind of classes should exist more. Like how to sew, how to
cut wood and build stuff and finance and all that stuff.
What was the first word you had? A stow?
So, oh yeah.
Like, how to sew. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Well, so I'm going to say my memory of the last, well, I have two because we did a few little book tours. I think we did three.
We did. Yeah. I would trot you out so that the pressure would be off of me. Like you came and did a couple like book events with me.
Oh yeah.
And I didn't want to have to be up there, like, testing my own memory. And I knew that you were like in great shape, could do it. And it would take some of the pressure off me. And you were a real mensch about doing that with me.
Sure. So, no, I was happy to. You were just like, go for it, Nelson. But yeah, I remember the one we did in Boston. I think it was Boston. And Ed Cook was there with like his gang.
Yeah.
And I'd never met him. I'd read about him in your book and I'd seen videos on YouTube and heard of his legendary things, whatever. And it was just like, I still remember that night we went to dinner afterwards and it was just like listening to all you guys talk, especially them, just the wild ideas that were bouncing around that room. Just like him and his friends were just like on another level of creativity. I'll never forget that.
Yeah. He just turned 40 and I just missed his 40th birthday party, which is like, something I will probably never live down because he throws some pretty awesome parties.
Well, have you seen his recent project?
Which one?
I think something about virtual parties or something.
Oh yeah, he was telling me about that, but I actually haven't checked it out. But that sounds like something he would do.
I looked at it briefly, but it's totally in line with him, and I imagine it'll take off. But I thought it was just such a clever idea.
You should have him on the podcast.
I've tried. He's a slippery fish sometimes. I gotta get him down. He'll reply sometimes, but it's usually I ask him for an interview and he's like, "Hey, how you doing?" And he didn't answer the question. So,
all right, I'll tap him on the shoulder if you want.
I appreciate that. Yeah. So for most of my viewers, I would imagine they know who you are. Even most of them might have started in the memory world because of your book. But for those who don't know, can you give kind of your short synopsis, your story? You've given it so many times, but if you don't mind.
No, I mean, the story as it's relevant to this corner of the universe is that I was a journalist, a science journalist. I went to go write a magazine story about the United States Memory Championships many, many years ago now, and got really into the idea of like, I didn't even know that it was possible to train your memory. I'd never heard of ancient mnemonic techniques and decided I would give it a try, got sucked into the world of memorizing and ended up competing in and winning the US Memory Championships when you, Nelson Dellis, were just a wee tot in diapers, I think.
Just about,
Yeah, certainly I would have had no chance if the likes of you were on the scene at that time.
And man, it was a progression, like you set the stage for the years to come after that, as did I. Now I feel like I'm you for the people who are in the competition now. I'm okay. I still practice a lot, but definitely not as much as I used to. And even if I had the time to train like I did, I don't know if I could keep up with the young guns,
Yeah. I mean, I was just watching, the Winter Olympics or like bits and pieces of it.
Yeah.
And it is nice to remember that like in every single sport on planet Earth, like the people who are doing the color commentary for NBC today, because they were the stars 20 years ago, cannot compete against the people who are doing it today, because just humans just keep pushing the boundary of what's possible. And in memory, it's been just insane. Totally insane. If you had asked me whether the records that exist today in competitive memorizing would have been possible, not like, could I imagine? Like, I would have said, I don't think they're humanly possible. And that was 10 years ago, which makes you wonder, like, what's it going to look like 10 years from now?
Yeah, because I say the same thing about the records now, as wild as they are. Just like, how can you, I don't think you, but I know I'm going to be wrong. And, it's just, it's crazy how people just keep pushing. And also to think, like, imagine the Olympics, right? Or things that have money and like exposure, prizes and stuff, like super competitive field, right? Memory sports isn't really. So if that was ever a thing where it became or was brought to another level, all sorts of people would be pushing to push it even further, faster, you can only imagine.
But it does seem like the organization around it all has like leveled up. I don't know.
Yeah.
Am I perceiving that correctly?
I'd say so. There's a bit of confusion, I think, sometimes because there's still like the classic WMC, the World Memory Championships, with Ray Keane and used to be Tony Bazan, no longer with us, or Dominic O'Brien and Phil Chambers and all them. But yeah, so there's a few different competitions going around, and it's been focused more on digital now. Had to be, right, in the last 2 years especially. So I think that's really helped kind of elevate it a little bit. And there was a documentary that came out a couple of years ago on Netflix that was big.
Mm-hmm.
And some of the people in the sport are really making good YouTube channels and being on these Netflix shows. And so it's definitely come up a little bit.
Do you have I know you're supposed to be asking me the questions, but you're so much closer to this now. I kind of want to take the opportunity to ask you,
Sure.
Like, do you have a sense of like what it would take? Do you have an idea for how you would get this whole competitive universe to the next level? What would need to be done?
Yeah, good question. I tried, right? Maybe I could have given it more of a go, but back in 2014, 2015, and 16, I had this extreme memory tournament thing. You were on Memory League for a championship.
Yeah.
Right?
So when I didn't know that existed.
Okay.
And then when I was invited, I went and like researched it and did a little bit. Like, I was amazed. I thought
Cool,
it was, right? Yeah. Like, it's phenomenal that has come together. And it was genuinely gripping entertainment to like watch people struggling and like the color commentary and this is what I feel like people were just trying to do when I competed. And I competed the year that it was filmed for HDNet for Mark Cuban's, like, I don't even know if it still exists, cable channel.
Yeah, I don't know.
And I make fun of it in the book because it was like they brought in like a boxing commentator or something, and it was just like weird. But I felt like the Twitch stuff was really well done, and like I could imagine wanting to watch that as just a like somebody who didn't know what was going on.
Yeah. So that's really come up, and that started. So I helped kind of grow the software behind that. Memory League used to be this extreme memory tournament, like the software side. I remember talking to Ray Keane at a championship in like 2010, and I was like, I have this idea. What if we had like tennis match style memory competitions? Where it was one-on-one, you go back and forth, or like you both have to memorize something, and whoever gets the most in a short amount of time. And he was like, yeah, maybe. They had a lot of those classic guys have a problem seeing past what they've done, so classically and formally for 20 years. But eventually I teamed with a guy from Australia, memory champion from there. He was a developer. So he and I kind of put it together. I thought of the format and the structure, and he built the code. And then we had a sponsor in San Diego and ran this competition. And it was really cool. We invited people from everywhere and had prize money. It was awesome. And for a second, I was like, this is the future. This is going to be what we do every year. It's going to be huge. And then the sponsor fizzled out. They actually went bankrupt. But Memory League lived on. And I think through the pandemic, it's just kind of really grown. And then Johannes has this Twitch channel that really has shown, what it could look like as what you're saying, kind of this boxing arena thing, but in a cool way. And yeah, I think that's hopefully the future. I don't know if it's enough to have just like the 5 tests, right? Mm-hmm. But definitely the platform from there, I think could be the answer.
Yeah. Oh, it's amazing to watch, just like how far it's come.
That's good. That's really nice to hear from you.
Yeah.
You from a former competitor. Which leads me to the question: do you ever go back and kind of like say, let me see, can I still memorize some cards or?
Oh, sure. I haven't tried to do cards in a while, but I'm constantly trying with like numbers or not constantly. No, the truth is, I like use the numbers in everyday life. I don't think I've tried to do like 100 digits or 1,000 digits in quite a long time.
Okay.
I haven't really pushed myself lately, but I mean, like, I don't know. I'm a parent with young kids. I've pushed myself in a lot of ways recently, as I'm sure you can relate too.
So you stumbled on this, what, in 2005?
Yeah.
At the year. And your job, I guess, was then or is still now to be finding interesting stories and kind of immerse yourself. And that just sounded super cool to you, or maybe even felt like it could apply to your life and actually benefit it. But going into it, did you always kind of think like, this is a phase, let me just try my best to win it, and then that'll be that chapter of my life and move on? Or did you feel like
I don't know. Did I ever entertain the possibility of like keeping going?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
After I won, I was like, oh my God. And then I did go to the World Championship.
Right. Yeah.
But then after that, I had a decision to make about whether I would like go back and try and defend my title or just like hang up my cleats. And I think I realized that the amount of work it would take to like to go from where I was to the place where God, when did you come on the scene? The year after me or 2 years after me?
2009 was my first.
Okay, so it wasn't that long. But I think probably Ron White came back and won a time or two after me, and
Dave Thomas was, I think, the year after.
Oh, right.
Actually.
Okay. Yeah. I always sort of felt like it was like it was a fluke. Like I had gotten extremely lucky, and I figured better spend my time telling the story than trying to like hang on to being in it.
Yeah.
And that's look, anytime a good story's got to have a beginning and an end, and because I had approached it, the whole thing, like this whole world of memorizing from the position of like trying to understand it and wanting to tell a story about it, I like found the perfect ending to my story. And being able to tell the best story kind of required me to let the story end. And sometimes that's hard to do when you're in all reporting, right? Like figuring out like, when do I have enough and when is it the moment to move on? And it was hard. That was a hard decision to make with the memorizing stuff, but it actually, in retrospect, I feel very good about it. And especially knowing how fast the sport was going to advance. I don't know if I could have kept up. No,
it feels like, the proper Seinfeld move, you kind of closed ended the season, when you should have
before you jump the shark.
Yeah, exactly. But do you ever wonder, like, if you say you were lucky that year, I could argue that some of my wins were lucky too. There's a lot of luck in the U.S.
There is a lot of luck at the end. Yeah.
Would you still have? Do you think you would have written the book? Do you think it would have come out of you?
I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, it took me a while also to finish the book, even after 2006 or whatever. But that's just my own slowness as a writer. I don't know. I actually don't spend a lot of time entertaining that like alternative, that alternative history, where I kept going with it.
Can I ask what you're working on now, or what have you been working on?
I've always got a bunch of things going on at once. I'll tell you what's taking up a lot of my time right now is Atlas Obscura, which is a company that I started just around the time that I was finishing Moonwalking with Einstein. And it's now been around for over a decade and is kind of just like growing and growing and growing nicely. And it's turned into an amazing, like, it's now a company with a lot of people, and it's become a fun way to express ideas about how to look at the world and how to be in the world that previously I was trying to find ways to express through my journalism. And now there's like a whole enterprise with a whole lot of people who are like together collectively expressing those ideas. And so that's been very, very satisfying.
And then on like books wise, I know you were working on a book.
Yeah, it's almost done. Yeah, it's almost done.
That same one is almost done. I was like,
take a while. No, I didn't give up on it.
Good.
I the truth is I put it on the back burner for a little bit during COVID, and actually starting a little bit before COVID because I had some other stuff I had to focus on. And but it's off the back burner. It's cooking right now. So
Cool.
Stay tuned for that.
Can you talk about it? Can you give the premise or no?
The premise is, I spent a bunch of time in now a number of years ago living with or spending time with some of the last hunter-gatherers on the planet. And we say last, that's kind of loaded.
Sure.
But people who are still basically more or less making their livelihoods the way most of humanity did for most of the time that human beings have been around. And so that was in Central Africa is where I did that reporting, and went back and forth 7 times to Central Africa over a number of years. And hopefully very, very soon we'll have like a finished book.
I remember kind of following along. I don't know if you had a blog or something at a point, but I know you were trying to use memory techniques for some of the language learning.
Oh yeah, no,
right?
that was a major way in which memory techniques helped me in like, not to win anything, just like in real life.
For that situation.
It was in many ways a unique situation. The language that I needed to learn is called Lingala. It's the national language of the Congo.
Okay.
And it's a trade language. So
what does that mean?
It means like it means that it was basically created, I don't know if you would say inorganically, but like it was a language that arose from a bunch of people speaking different languages needing to communicate with each other.
Okay.
And so it's a simple language in terms of the size of the vocabulary.
Yep.
It's a simple language in terms of the regularity of the grammar. And as far as I know, the best English to Lingala dictionary that exists has like 1,100 words.
Damn,
and
that's nothing.
That's a small language.
Yeah.
And so I use memory techniques, and specifically an app that Ed Cook helped develop called Memrise, which has now moved and become a language learning app, but it's moved in a somewhat different direction. I don't even know if you can still do anything with Lingala through it. I use that app to memorize the dictionary. Which
1,100 words isn't too bad.
You say 1,100 words, I can learn that in an hour. I mean, it's sort of. But obviously, memorizing a dictionary is not the same thing as learning language.
Right. Yeah.
But it is an amazing scaffolding to then actually learn a language with, because you're just going into it with, little bits of words that you can kind of pick up and you can start to put together. And it's funny, I wouldn't have guessed that it would have been as effective as it was.
Nice.
I don't think I'm definitely not fluent in Lingala, but I can have a conversation and I understand quite a bit. And that's I think ultimately because of having spent that time. Yeah.
So it actually, when you got there and you started working with the tribe, like it paid off.
Oh yeah. I mean, well, it turns out like half the words in that dictionary aren't actually words people use. And so people are like, where did you learn that? Like, it is, I came in speaking like Shakespearean English or something, They're like, what planet are you from?
Yeah, I had a similar experience. I went about learning Dutch 2 years ago. It's my mother's mother tongue. And I went about it kind of similarly with an app, learning like 2,400 words. Just that was all I did first.
What app did you use?
It was an app called Drops. There's a lot out there. This one, we kind of worked together on a few projects. But it's really simple. It's really easy to use. It's like aesthetically pleasing and kind of gets you playing the game, which I think is anything like with language learning. If it's hard to stick to it. So anything that helps you kind of get back to it every single day, just for a few minutes is great. But it was interesting because when I started doing lessons, like to learn the actual language after I'd memorized all those words, I wasn't fluent at all, but it's exactly what you said. It was a really good scaffolding because I could pick up things and start to put pieces together without knowing a lick in the language, how to put a sentence together.
And so how's your Dutch now?
Well, I haven't practiced much, so it's a bit weak, but it's one of these things like I feel like I could just I have all my notes that I took and all the books that I use and the words, same app, whatever. I think I could get it back quite quickly. I understand it still, and can read it very well. But it's the coming up with the words fast enough, because if you're not using them, I mean, they're buried in there. If not, they're falling out, So yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. Where can people learn more about what you're doing these days? How do you
go to
express
Atlas Obscura? Go to atlasobscura.com. Yeah.
Yeah.
Or download our app.
Tell people what that is quickly if they don't know.
Atlas Obscura is a guide to the world's hidden wonders. So anywhere you're going in the world, you want to know where's all the really cool shit that nobody tells you about, this is where you find it.
Do you have anything? Because I have a few.
Yeah.
In Nepal, in the Himalayas, up to Mount Everest.
I'm sure we do. But on the way up to Mount Everest?
Yeah, like on the trek most people do to base camp.
I don't know. I got to go look. But what have you got?
Well, the main one that would be definitely should be in your platform is the Yeti skull. There's a monastery that has a supposed Yeti skull or scalp.
Did you see it?
Like a scalp. No, I have not. I've seen other people who have stopped to take photos of it on my team and stuff, but I never went by it. But it's supposed to be a bit of obviously it's not real, but some people think it's real, but it's weird.
What do we think it is? Like
someone said it's like part of a goat's scalp or something. I don't know.
Wasn't I think Edmund Hillary got really into looking for the Yeti at some
You're
point.
right. I think he claimed to have seen a footprint, something weird like that, but I never have. But if that's not it, if you should look into that, or get somebody on it. Of
all the crazy crap in the world, that's one I'm prepared to be like slightly open-minded about,
Yeah. Nice. All right. So everybody who wants to learn some weird stuff about the world, atlasobscura.com.
Yeah.
Nice. All right. Well, cool, dude. I hope to see you maybe on some of these Memory League games, commentating maybe, or just watching. It's good to see you.
It's good to see you. Good luck with the move. And
thanks,
stay in touch.